Namaste and greetings. So, if you're ready, pause. I know I'm not dressed as I would normally, formally, but it serves a purpose. Follow along. So, as we end this month, we are ending on this celebratory note, this idea of what it means to celebrate life, but not just celebrate life. Celebrating life as source. We have spent this month reminding ourselves of who we are. And we've been doing so through some of the basic principles of science of mind and spirit. Now, this final step, and possibly one of our most important steps, our ability to surrender, to release, to let go. So we prepare ourselves for what it means to surrender into life in this coming year, this new opportunity to live our best lives, to surrender into it by surrendering or letting go of what is not serving us. We are here to surrender to spirit, surrender to life, surrender to spirit, to source itself, to surrender entirely into it. That, after all, is what it takes to live out loud, to boldly go where we may have never gone before, and to boldly go to that next level of what it means to be open at the top, to boldly go to truly live long and prosper. That's what it means. But we must surrender. We must surrender into and surrender by letting go of. We're going to talk a little bit more about that soon with a parable of what it means to surrender. Now, there are things that we can surrender and let go of, things such as false narratives, false beliefs, non-life affirming beliefs, non-life affirming paradigms, the things that are irrational fears and worries, self-doubt, and the doubting of. Can I ever be able to? I don't have the skill to doubt our abilities. Breathe. Because we free ourselves to be able to celebrate life when we know how to let go of what does not serve us. So every day becomes a greater and deeper opportunity for us to celebrate, to stand in joy, and understand this simplicity and this beauty that surrounds us because it is life itself. Breathe. In Living the Science of Mind, it says, it is the great negations of life that we have to surrender, the doubts and fears and uncertainties, the coldness and unkindness, the lack of love. In other words, we must let these things go. There are irrational doubts and irrational fears because there are fears that serve us, right? There are certain biological fears that, are there for a reason. But we have these other things, the fear of failure, the fear of success, the fear of surrender them, let them go, no longer allow them to control or to move us based upon their energy. This idea that there is a lack of love, unkindnesses, lack of joy. Surrender them and let them go. No longer let them captain the ship. In order to do so, we must understand what it means to surrender. We must understand what it means to let go of. We must understand what it means to be non-attached. Breathe, because it is very, very common, very often that we are conditioned to grab, grip, hold tightly. After all, that's what jealousy is. Jealousy is this need to hold on to, lest a relationship be taken away from us. So we feel jealousy when attention, when Whatever it is we are perceiving is being directed somewhere else. Jealousy is what rises because we are overly invested and holding tightly to something that is not ours to hold tightly to. Freedom comes from surrender, from letting go. Now ask yourself, is it time for you to let go of something? And if so, what? Are you truly ready to let go of that rock that is preventing you from flying? What thoughts are holding you prisoner, holding you captive, holding you bound? What are the thought forms, the beliefs, the paradigms, the memories? What are the memories that are holding you prisoner, holding you captive, that right now we are being invited to relinquish, to let go of, to surrender? Breathe, because here is that parable that I was talking about. The young woman walks out onto the plank, the springboard. Now, we know why she's there. We understand the garment that she's wearing. We understand the thing she's walking on. We understand the blue stuff that's below her. We understand she's a diver. Now, in order for her to dive, she has to surrender what she's walking on, meaning let go of it to now surrender into the air, and then surrender, release, and allow gravity to do what gravity does, and surrender and plunge into the pool. And so the practice is, how do we walk to that place where now we are on the very edge, the very precipice of making a new choice, to surrender, to dive into life? What is your walk? What is your standing on the edge? What is your surrendering and leaping into the air and being submerged into love and joy and your creative power? For you, what does that look like and feel like? What does that mean? Because it's easy for any of us to, hypothetically tell a story about, well, this is what it means for all of us. Yes, I got that. However, I do not sing opera. So for Pavarotti to surrender into and for Ray to surrender into are going to be different processes. And yet the surrendering is the same. What does it mean for you? What are you being invited to surrender into? All of us have, each new day, a new thought, a new life. The moment we change our thinking, we have the opportunity to shift our entire mental equivalent to have a different experience. So in any given moment, there is a blank canvas before us. And in order to paint, we must surrender. We must let go of the idea of what a blank canvas is in order to create. And we must surrender and let go of any of the fears and lack and doubt about, but I'm not a good painter. I don't know how to paint. I can't, and no one's going to like, and the critics are going to say it. You have to surrender all of that in order to surrender into the art of painting, because it really doesn't matter what anyone else says. It really doesn't matter. You are living your best life. How do you surrender into that, no matter what? Because I can already hear some of you saying, but at my age, why would I start learning a new language? At my age, why would I start learning to paint? At my age, why would I write a book? I'm too young. I'm too old. I'm too something, or not enough of something. I'm not smart enough. I don't have a degree. Why would I even think that I could start a business? I don't have a business degree, or whatever that is. Let it go. If you are called to create a book, a business, if you are called to create whatever it is, then it means you have the backing of the entire universe. So it doesn't matter what supposed limitations you have. You have no arms? Don't think that that doesn't mean you can't paint. You have no feet? Don't think that that doesn't mean you can't paint or draw or create or start a business or become a public speaker or whatever that is. Don't think that because there are whatever we are calling the limitations, not enough money, not enough this, something. Don't think that these limitations can limit God from expressing. God, the all in all, is all there is. Therefore, it must be exactly what you are. And if that is the case, then that means you have right now access to everything you could ever need in order to express what it is you are here to express. But you must surrender. Surrender the ideas of lack, limitation, and scarcity, and surrender into your true self. Your true self is who you are objectively, right? It's who you are objectively from this beginning point in the mind and heart of God, the one mind and the one heart that is God. Your true self is that heart. Your true self is that mind. There is only one mind, and that mind is God, and that mind is perfect, and that mind is your mind now. There is only one life, and that life is God, and that life is beautiful, and that life is your life now. Your true self is that life. Your true self is that mind. Your true self is that which is infinite being, being you. The surrendering of our false self is necessary in order to find the pearl of great price, the false self. All of those thoughts of lack, limitation, and scarcity, all of those things of I'm not good enough and I could never be, and all of that stuff. Well, my parents said, and my teachers said, and the critics say, the false self. Surrender it and let it go and allow your true self to shine brightly. Now, this false self, pause, because we all have been indoctrinated with some version of it. In Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in the way that they should go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. So think about the child is young. And the child has a backpack. The child has a container of consciousness that people place things in their backpack. There's a book, and there's a pencil, and there's an eraser, and a compass, and a calculator, and an apple, and lunch, and dessert. And there's stuff that goes in the backpack. And the child carries the backpack. The child carries the consciousness. But there are all kinds of things that are carried. Many of them the child doesn't even want, doesn't even recognize that they don't want until such time as later they're like, why is that even there? We condition the children. Boys don't cry. We condition them, we indoctrinate them, train them, train up a child in the way that they should go, and they will not depart from it until they understand I have a choice. If someone hits you, hit them back and hit them harder. If they have a stick, get a brick. If they have a brick, get a bat. We train and indoctrinate. We build the backpack of heavy, weighted beliefs that hold them down, win at all costs. Only the strong survive, and it is a dog-eat-dog world. You better be the biggest, baddest dog with the biggest, sharpest teeth. Is that really the training that we wanted? Is that the training we received? That and so much more. In many ways, those thoughts become the very cellular memory, the ancestral traumas, and kaboom, there will be a time when this stuff reaches a tipping point and it shows up in our body, it shows up in our lives, it shows up as dysfunction, it shows up as depression, it shows up as any number of things because we've been given it. And so we are invited to shift through this idea and recognize I don't have to still carry this backpack. And yet, as Amy Kaufman says, you must choose which stones to carry, for if you try to carry them all, You will be dragged down by their weight and you will be drowned in the depths. But you may find that as you swim, you grow stronger for the stones in your pockets. You may find you carry more than you knew, or you may find that you can carry more than you knew. And I understand the concept, but how about we not need to carry more than we knew? Because see, people, how many times have you heard someone say, God only gives you what God knows you can carry? What? What? Like, let's stop this idea of being resilient and having to grin and bear it and grit and bear it and muster through, and then giving people kudos and bravo for surviving, bravo for being brave enough to be your authentic self. How about we not need to be brave to be our authentic self? How about that just be the natural default setting? How about I not need to carry extra weight to realize that, wow, I was actually stronger, so give me more weight to carry? How about we unburden ourselves and not need to carry the extra weight? How about we recognize, like Jane Austen said in the book Sense and Sensibility, it isn't what we say or think that defines us, but what we do. So rather than say, carry the weight, rather than say, you're stronger than, rather than say, how about what we do is show up as equity and justice, show up as love and compassion, show up as that being what we do, so that we no longer need to carry this extra weight with us all the time. Because just because I can carry it doesn't mean it's healthy to be carried. Just because, my shoulders are strong enough to support the backpack doesn't mean I want. Can I be free of carrying the burden? Can I be strong in and of myself without needing this extra false narrative and belief system? Can I be free? Can you be free? Our job is to remove the chains and the shackles, to remove the boulders and the boundaries, to remove all of this extra added stuff that comes from the egoic self, from the collective consciousness. Our job is to remove the chains that shackle us and bind us and hold us prisoner. The people who make you feel guilty for going against culture, for going against the rat race, for going against this collective idea of it's a dog eat dog world and you need to compete and for going against that, for going against this nationalistic religious ideology of what it means to be Christian, but you're hurting people. To go against that and forge a new path, a path of equity and love and justice and empathy. Because what they are saying when they judge you, what they are saying when they criticize you, what they are saying is, look at my chains and look at how much bigger and badder they are than yours. It's a competition once again. Who's got the biggest scars? Who's carrying the biggest backpack? Who's got the biggest stick? Who's got the biggest bomb? Are we ready to surrender that entire ideology, that entire paradigm, in order to celebrate life, in order to celebrate freedom, in order to celebrate source? You have to lose your hate if you wish to find love. Pause. You have to lose your hate, not just surrender it, lose it. If you wish to find love, if you wish to have love, you have to let go of everything that is unkind if you wish to discover kindness. You even have to surrender fear if you wish to discover life-affirming faith. Hate. Do you know what hate is? Because you can't lose it if you don't know what it is. So let's talk about this idea of hate for a moment. Hate as a verb, any type of feeling intense or passionate dislike for something or someone. As a noun, intense or passionate dislike. Is there someone that you feel intense and passionate dislike of? And you may not call it hate. You may simply say, I really don't like them. But is it this? And if so, remember, in order to find love, in order to find kindness, in order to have life affirming faith, we must surrender unkindness, surrender the hate, surrender the fear, surrender the memories that hold us captive. Because there are memories that hold us prisoner. If we are going to truly be free to celebrate, then we must be willing to relinquish those memories, to relinquish those thoughts, to relinquish those ideas, to relinquish those beliefs. Surrender them and let them go. They are not serving. Self righteousness is a loud din. It is a loud, dull noise that is raised in order to drown out the voice of guilt within us. See, we feel this guilt, we feel this shame, we feel this fear. And so what happens is we project it as self-righteousness or self-righteous indignation in order to dull out this. That's what addiction actually is. Addiction, drinking, drugs, sex, porn, work, whatever it is, the whole point of it is to dull this so that I don't have to face this, so that I don't have to feel this. And there are times when we use our memories and our self-righteous, remember when things were great back then in the 70s? Remember when things were great back then in the nostalgia and all that other stuff? It's actually a form of self-righteousness where we are so focused on the past that we are not focused on the present. And if we're not focused on the present, we can't build a more effective future. Are we willing to surrender this entire energy and literally be present with the guilt if it's there? Be present with the fear if it's there. Be present with whatever is there in order to heal it, in order to move through it, in order to transmute it. Are we willing to be present in order to let it go? Whatever it is, breathe. We talk about holding a grudge, but what does it mean to hold a grudge? To hold a grudge is to have and maintain some form of the energy of anger and bitterness and resentment towards someone for something that they did, something that they said, something that happened, some wrong that we believe that they committed, whether factual or imagined, doesn't matter, but they did something against us. So we hold on. Remember that image of the holding on? We grip tightly. And typically, our role in the incident is ignored. You're ignoring how I feel. You're ignoring what I think. And then you're doing whatever you're doing. So we hold on to the memory. Oh, I'll forgive, but I won't forget. Now, I understand the general idea. Yes, if I burn myself, ooh, and I heal it, but I'm going to remember that I got burned so I don't get burned again. Yes, yes, yes. Understand that, oh, rattlesnake, remember so there is no attack again, there is no bite again. Yes, but oftentimes we hold on to the memory, and in holding on to the memory so powerfully, we're still holding on to the energy. We didn't forgive. If the memory still causes an emotional response that is akin to the anger and the bitterness and the resentment and all that, then we haven't fully forgiven to the degree that we could. So we have to ask ourselves, am I truly ready to forgive? I can remember that I was hurt, betrayed, abandoned. I can remember that. I remember that I was abused as a child. I remember it. But I have forgiven and let it go. So it does not have the same emotional hold of me now that it once had. Are you willing to relinquish and no longer hold a grudge? Are you willing to surrender the grudge? When we fail to live in accord with the divine, we bring suffering into ourselves. We bring suffering into our lives. When we fail to live in alignment with God, alignment with truth, practicing the presence, then we invite some form of suffering, accord. What does it mean to be of one accord? It means to be in agreement. Are you in agreement with the universe? It means to be in harmony. Are you in harmony with God? It means to have alliance with spirit. Are you? It means to reconcile. It means to have this will, this commitment. Do you have that? If not, then you are invited to get into one accord, to get into an agreement, to come into an agreement, to come into harmony, to have this heart to heart with yourself and with another, to come to a place of touching and agreeing. Breathe, keeping in mind that there is this figurative soul or mind. To be of one accord means to have a soul agreement, to have one mindedness with the divine. Do you have that? Or are we so bound to the memories? Are we so bound to the resentments? Are we so bound to the grudge? Are we so bound to whatever that is that I can't be in agreement? I can't agree to forgive and hold a grudge. That's out of integrity. That's out of alignment. That is not of one accord. I cannot be in harmony with hatred and love at the same time. I can't. Those energies cannot coexist any more than I can drive forward while looking over my shoulder behind me. It's not safe. I'm not in alignment with what it means to drive forward. I cannot be open at the top while also understanding I am deeply bound by lack, scarcity, and fear. Then I'm not open at the top. I'm actually closed. Are you willing to do the work to come into alignment, to be of one accord? Recognizing that, think of it this way. So there are many threads. Now, these threads, what are they? They could be our spiritual practices, they could be our beliefs, they could be whatever they are. But what we are invited to do is to bring the threads, to bring the practices, to bring all of these areas and aspects of our lives into one accord, to bring our meditation into work, to bring our prayer into our relationships, to bring all of the threads of all aspects of our lives, to bring them all together, to come of one accord, rather than being frayed and separate. There's the red thread and the yellow thread and the green thread, and they're separate and compartmentalized. We are not compartmentalized beings. So let's bring life and all that life is together and weave it together and make our lives stronger. That's how we, for real, that's how we build into this ability to live unapologetically, to live powerfully and audaciously, boldly, to boldly live life as we have never lived it before, to live long and prosperous in our living, to truly celebrate life. And every single time I die to something, every single time I surrender, let go of, the phoenix that dies has let go of this life to become born anew. Every single time I die to something, my notions of my own specialness, my plans, and my desires for something to be a very particular way, every time I surrender and die to those things, every single time I fight it, and yet every single time I discover more life. Every single time I fight it, and yet every single time I find more life. Every single time I fight it, and yet every single time I discover more life and more freedom. I find more, I discover more. than if I had gotten what I originally wanted. This is why we say this and something greater, this and even greater. Because sometimes what we think we want, there's more than that. There's more. The universe has even more. Like you're thinking, if I could only have dessert. It's an Oreo cookie. Yeah, but there's this thing called chocolate cake. There's what? There's this thing called chocolate cake. Are you willing to let go of what you think in order to step into, so surrender into something that you don't even have in your imagination right now? Yeah, okay. What's this thing called chocolate cake? What it what smells really? Oh my oh my God, this was good. We have to die to the Oreo in order to live into the chocolate cake. We have to die to the fear in order to live into the freedom. We have to die to the smallness in order to live into the great magnificentness that you are. Are you willing to surrender into it? Breathe. This week's practice. How is surrender different from giving up? What has been your biggest resistance to surrendering? And surrendering what exactly? What does surrender look like or feel like to you? What supports you in your surrendering process? What do you think we could surrender in our home life or like just in general? What do you think we could surrender? Schools, what do you think we could surrender? Politics, what do you think we could surrender? The world, what do you think we could surrender? What are we being invited to surrender? And then flex your vulnerability muscles once again. You're going to read the next slide and then come back and discuss and share your thoughts and your feelings. Are you ready to surrender? Are you ready to release? Are you ready to no longer hold on to in order to truly live your life freely and empowered? If you're not, then what do you need in order to become ready? Like I understand if you're not ready, and that's fine. But what do you need in order to get ready? And if so, what is it that you must do? What are you truly invited to do? And when will you do it? Now, today, this week? Here's the quote. There are times when the system, the collective consciousness, impedes our ability to live as freely as we should by divine right. And that is a conversation we need to have more often. But for this moment, let's be clear that very often it is we who get in our own way and we who derail ourselves from living our best lives. Our opinions about self and others, our judgments, our criticisms, our worries, and our fears all become the baggage that anchors us to live a life we deeply desire to break free from. Free to live life, free to sail, free to fly as the divinely magnificent beings we are, free to truly live out loud. That's what we want to be free to surrender into. But all of those other things, the judgments, the criticisms, the worries, the baggage, anchor us from this. This is what we want to be freed from, to be freed into these other things. But we're held back. To live free, we must choose to be unshackled. Unshackled from the memories that we use as the ammunition of self righteous indignation, which clouds our ability to think, speak, feel, and act as the divinely magnificent beings that we are. We must surrender any mental equivalents that are aligned with lack, fear, bitterness, payback, pain, and so much more. and choose to align with the truth of Source as us. Breathe. This week's affirmation or declaration, I will say it first, and if you feel in alignment with it, say it with me on the second go round. This one life is my life right now, and I celebrate it out loud. Together, this one life is my life right now, and I celebrate it out loud. Breathe. Breathe and anchor into what it means to celebrate life, what it means to acknowledge and recognize that there is only one power, that there is only one life, that there is only one mind, that there is only one infinite source, called by many names: God, Spirit, the universe, called by many names, and yet whatever the name is, the truth of it is the truth of each of us. And so we breathe in this energy, this celebratory energy, this honoring energy, this recognition of the energy of life itself as it lives, moves, and has its beingness as an incarnation that we call our lives. We celebrate how life shows up in community. We celebrate how life shows up in all of the beauty around us, be that art, be that music, be that poetry, be that whatever it is. We celebrate how life shows up. And the more we celebrate, the more there is to celebrate. We celebrate laughter, and there is more laughter. We celebrate love, and there is more love. We celebrate a delicious meal, and there is more of deliciousness to be had. We celebrate life because life is God. God is life. There is no separation. There is no compartmentalization. There is only oneness. And we celebrate it as it lives, moves, and has its beingness in us individually and in, through, and as us collectively. We breathe and we celebrate. Celebrate out loud. Breathe. And as this message comes to an end, we embody what it means to boldly go, to boldly live, to boldly love, to boldly celebrate as we have never done before, and to truly live long and demonstrate what it means to prosper. Breathe. And the law says yes. That means it's done. And so it is. Namaste. Much love, much appreciation, blessings, and see you in February. Curiosity is our superpower. Dun, 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 dun. Much